Welcome to Aperture Atlantic once again. I'm Scott Squires, and joining us today is Edward Pyle from Telltale Productions. Edward, thanks for coming by.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
So when did you kind of have that spark lit, so to speak, in terms of getting interested in film, television, the industry, so to speak?
In university, I went to Acadia, and we had this program in my fourth year called New Venture Creation. And the idea was that you would go and come up with a business idea and come up with a marketing plan,
Okay.
and then you would pitch it to a group of venture capitalists. So I came up with this idea, which again at this time, this was like around 88 or something.
Right.
This idea for video yearbooks. That was the idea.
Okay.
And our project won the sort of, was the favorite one. And at the end of it, they came up to us and said, listen, we want to put real money into this. This isn't just
Wow.
like if you guys are interested, we will finance this thing. So that was maybe, but I didn't end up, what I ended up doing, of course, is I went off and spent a couple years in Europe and totally, went in a totally different direction. But that's sort of, that was maybe my first sort of looking at it as a business.
Okay, so after that, you graduate or you move off from Acadia. What did you do? What were you doing over in Europe?
I was working. I went and studied French over in the south of France, and then I worked there for a year, and then I worked I was working in Cyprus, and so I worked at a bunch of different things, but it was totally unrelated.
Sure.
Then ended up coming back to Canada and moving to Vancouver, and working out there in the commodities business.
Okay.
So I was a commodities trader out there, and then had an offer to come back to Nova Scotia and work for an environmental company. So I ended up doing that, and then ironically, how I sort of got into film and TV, I left that environmental job, and somebody made me an offer or asked me if I wanted to go and crew for them. So I went and I gave my notice and joined the boat in the Caribbean and spent the next 6 months sailing with them. There it enters again. One of my duties on board the ship was to shoot, because the owner wanted to document all these places that they went to. So I spent 6 months being paid to just, sail be part of the crew on the sailing ship, but also just to shoot. I came back here to spend the summer, and I had a boat at the time, and I took some friends out who happened to work in film and TV. And I'd known these people for a couple of years. And he brought out, one of the people that came along was Paul Donovan. He was very gracious and said, listen, just whatever you want to see, whatever you want to do, here, just go. So I spent the next month just hanging out on productions. I wasn't getting paid, but I just went and saw how this worked, saw how that worked. They let me go in the edit suites to see how everything worked there, and the sound stages. And
you're talking about, your experiences going over to Europe and then being on the ship, and how it almost seemed destined that you were going to have a hand in film or television somewhere. But interesting as well that, many of the different things that you did, along the way kind of came into play, your business background.
Yeah, I'm actually glad. I was sort of in my late 20s when I sort of got into working in television. And no, I'm very glad that I had those experiences. Otherwise, if you don't have life experience, it's hard to really, you don't know what you're missing.
Where kind of did you go from there, and what have you got currently? What can you tell us about?
Yeah. Well, after I wrapped up Tall Ship Chronicles, then I started my own company, and which is called Telltale Productions, and we focus on factual type programming, so documentaries, documentary series, trash reality TV.
Yeah, all right.
And we're also doing more interactive type projects as well.
Maybe just a quick word of advice or two for folks that might be like yourself, that were interested, kind of went away, and then came back. What would you tell them?
I guess, follow what your passion is, right? I didn't know when I got into it, if I wanted to be a director, if I wanted to be a producer, if I wanted to be an editor. So, expose yourself, I guess, to all. If you're interested in working in film and TV, just show up, work as a PA, start at the bottom, and just expose yourself. And if you do, you'll sort of realize, okay, you'll start to migrate. If a person's interested, they should just get out there, offer their services. There's lots of short films being shot, lots of indie productions looking for people. So you can go, show up on a weekend and just figure out if you like it or not.